Hey guys, Chris from Double K Outdoors here. I wanted to make a quick video just on like some of the knots that I frequently use, and I really only use 2 knots. I know more than 2 obviously because I've been doing this for 25 years now, more than 25 years, but I really only use 2 knots, and there's reasons for it. 1, because they work really well, and 2, they have good long term, so I can catch fish after fish after fish. And I know a lot of people will say you should retie after every fish. I'm sorry, but if I catch one that's this big, I'm not retying some of these knots. They're designed to hold for more than 1 fish. Now, if I catch like a 7 or 8 pound bass, I'm probably gonna retie and check my line. Even a 3 pound bass, I'm gonna check my line and retie if needed. But the little dinks, you know, the 8 to 12 inch bass, I usually don't check. I haven't lost very many fish or lost baits because of that either. So I just wanted to show you the 2 main knots, not main lines, the 2 main knots that I use on a regular basis to make sure that I don't have to retie after every single fish. And if you stick around at the end, you might get a little bonus. But always remember, please feel free to comment, like, subscribe on these videos. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have on especially these knots or any of the beginner type videos. And always remember, keep catching. The first knot that I'm going to show you how to tie is a Polymer knot. This knot is extremely versatile, and it's also one of the strongest knots out there. One of the strongest. I didn't say it was the strongest, you big knot critics. But it is extremely versatile, and I use it in a lot of situations. So I'm using, as you can see, I'm just using a fish keeper trot line. Basically, those flies need to go away. I'm telling you, man, these flies, woo! I'm just using this because it's thick enough for you to see well, but it's also thin enough and smooth enough for the knots to work okay. So I'm not going to damage my line. I'm just doing this for testing, and even if I do, it's a couple of dollars to replace this. So this is going to be my representation of a bait or the hook that you're tying to. It's just a big eye hook. See? Okay, so the Polymer, starting out, the easiest way is to double your line over. What I mean by double over is take it, loop it back, and make a pretty good amount, and you just have this little loop at the end. Okay, make sure to keep the line straight and no twists or bends. What you want to do is take your loop, stick it straight through like this. Okay, bring your bait or your hook pretty far down, not all the way like this because it's going to make it hard, but pretty far down. Okay, then we're going to do just a simple granny knot without making the lines twist up too bad. So you take it, you go over like this, and then through, so that you have a little granny knot. And you see how I'm trying to keep this line from twisting up as much as I can, and everything trying to keep things at the same length. So when you do this first step and it comes through, it should look something similar to that, so that the lines here are not twisted up and the lines up here are not twisted up. And you notice that I'm holding everything with my left hand and I'm doing all the work with my right hand. Once you get this loop, you take it and you go around the bait like that. I'll show you from a different angle. So you take it and you go around and under. And then what I like to do is I use my pinky to grab that loop. And you see how it's just right under my pinky here? That's how I do that, is I just grab it with my pinky just to hold it. It's not, I'm not like forcing, I'm not clenching down on it, I'm just taking it to keep that loop from going back around. Because a lot of times if you're using new line, that little loop right there is going to want to do exactly that. It's going to want to come right back around, and then your knot's not going to hold. So you got to make sure that that knot, that loop, comes through, and I just grab it with my pinky just like that. Not tight, just grabbing it. Next step is you're going to want to grab the hook or the bait, and you're going to just easily start pulling down. And then you notice my pinky's not really holding. I let it just kind of fall right off like that. You see what happens is you get tighter. That knot gets tighter too. Oops, sorry. I know that was probably loud. And it cinches down. So you got to take your tag line, which is this one, and your main line, and you pull them at the same time to cinch that knot down. And once you get it down, you can see there's two separate lines here. You see there's a gap. There's two separate lines, so you have two lines holding it rather than just one line. This is a very efficient knot. It's just not tightened down all the way so that I can undo it and show you for the next one. But that's the easiest way to do the Polymer knot. And it's a very good knot, and it'll hold really strong. A lot of times you need to wet it before you cinch it all the way down though, so you don't burn the line. This is one of those knots that you do not need to crank on to make sure that it's fully, you know, cinched down, or you can damage the line and your knot's going to break a little bit easier. So the second knot that I'm going to show you, and it's my personal favorite knot, is the Uni Knot. This one's a little bit more complicated. It's not as easy as the Polymer, but I'm going to do my best to show you how to do this like in this way. So tag end, bait or lure or hook, go through, and give yourself plenty of room to work with on this one. Sometimes I use quite a bit of line, so I'm going to use a lot. Until you get more familiar with this, you're going to probably end up using a lot of extra line. Once you get a little bit more familiar, you can use less and less. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it like this. Now that I've got a lot of line, you can see I've got a lot out. And I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to let that bait kind of free hang. I'm going to pull the tag end so that I make it loop and bring this end up closer to the hand that's holding the main line. Because what I'm going to do is I got to take this tag end. Well, usually what I do is with my hand at this point, because you can see I'm holding the main line with my pinky. You can see it's going right under my pinky. And then I'm holding the tag end with my thumb and index finger, so that I'm creating that loop for the bait to move on. At this point, once I do that, I will move it back like this, so that the tag end and the loop, or the main line, are now in between the one finger. So I take it from holding like that, and I take it and I stick it right under that finger just like that. I can still make adjustments if I need to, or if there's too much, not enough, I can do that. But you want both of those to keep your index finger free, or your middle finger, or both fingers. You'll see why here in a second. It's very important. So now that I have these free, I'm going to take the main line, or the tag end. You can see here's my tag end, and I still have a lot of line left. You'll see why. Just be patient. I'm going to take that over my index finger, or my middle finger and index finger, and I'm going to press down on my thumb, because now I don't want any of this to move. Because at this point, with my pinky on my other hand, I'm going to grab and hold that bait tight. So now I've got this really tight line, and both of these down here are together. And then with my index finger and thumb, excuse me, I'm going to take the tag line. You can see the tag line is still down here. If I lift it up a little bit, you can see there's my tag end. And I'm going to take it and hold it right up against the other two lines so that it forms this loop up here. Okay? Now this is where it gets a little tricky. I take my index finger and I wrap it through and I grab the line. You see how I did that? So the tag end's on the outside, and now I've got the line like kind of through my fingers rather than just the tip. because I'm going to take this line here, the tag end, and I'm going to wrap it about 5 times. You see I still have it looped. Usually I don't have this much line out, but I'm just showing for the sake of showing. And you take it, you wrap it through, pull it, and I just messed up, but you get the gist. You're going to do this about 5 times, so that usually I don't have this much line out. So let me show you quick how I do it in a smaller way, because that's just too much line. I'm just trying to show you guys, and it's hard to do it that way. So once you get a little bit better at this, it's a little bit easier to do it. Come here. And I take it. Come on. Come on. And I just go through 5 times like that. And you want to make sure that you get the loops in succession. You don't want to like loop back on yourself so the line's kind of tucked on it. You want it to where the loops are in front of each other, like that. And you see how it's spiraling around rather than trying to go back on yourself, because if you go back here like that and you see how it's going to tighten down on itself, that's bad. You don't want that. Go through. And you do this about 5 times. You make sure that you got it around just these 2. Don't go around this loop on the outside. And then when you're done, when you get about your 5 loops, you pull both, you let go of the loop with your fingers. You pull both the main line and the tag at the same time until the knot starts to cinch down. But you notice I'm letting this kind of come through my fingers on this side. I'm not actually like holding it real tight. I want that to be a little loose while I'm tightening. Once you get the knot cinched down, let the tag end go. Completely let it go. And then you notice when I'm pulling the main line, all the way down. Now when it gets really close to like right about there, I pull just the tag in so it tightens all of these wraps up. Sorry, it's not focusing very well. It tightens all of these wraps up, and it makes sure that that knot is formed really good. And then I do one more pull with the main line. I let the tag end go, and I do one more pull with the main line just to tighten that knot all the way up to the eye of the hook. And as harder I pull on that, the tighter this is going to get. That's one of the reasons why I like this knot, is the harder something pulls on it, the tighter this knot gets. So those are the 2 main lines or main knots that I use, and they do come in handy. The Polymer is very easy and a lot of people use it. The Uni Knot is one that I use more than anything right now. So I hope this helps, and yeah, I really do hope this helps, because some of these knots, there's other knots out there too, but these are the 2 that I use on a most frequent basis, and they do take some practice. Once you get them down though, it's a cakewalk to do. And I would just say practice, practice, practice these, because once you get them, they're hard to beat. Alright guys, this is a bonus knot. This is a very beginner level knot. It should hold up fairly well though. It's just not one that I would use as frequently now that I know some of these better knots. But it's really, really, really simple. Take it, run it through the eye of your hook or bait, just like that. Then you bring it around and you just grab the main line. I just stick it right in between my fingers like this, and then I grab both of those lines. Okay, you take your tag end and you loop it, or you wrap it 5-6 times. I'm only going to do it a couple just to show you, so that it wraps around like that. Then that little itty bitty loop that you see where my thumb is right here, you take your line, your tag end, and you push it through. You pull just the tag end to cinch the knot, wet it, and then you can let the tag end go, cinch it down. That's what we called growing up the Carl spin knot. And will it hold up against a massive fish? Well, I caught my personal best using that, and that's right at 8 pounds. So that knot will hold. It's just, it doesn't hold for very long in my opinion. So I've had to retie more using that knot, but it will work. But that's just a little bonus knot for you guys.